HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us in such a way that we can take any food product, whether your body has ever seen it before or not. Imagine taking a Laffy Taffy and putting it in your car, into the gas tank. It's not going to work. You take a Laffy Taffy and you put it into your body, it's going to work. You take a peanut butter and jelly sandwich into your body, it's going to work. You take a steak, no matter what food product we place into our mouths that goes through our system, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us in such a way that the body can identify what's useful and what's useless and extract all the useful fuel from there and use it to allow us to function every day and to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu every day. We start eating. You say a bracha, you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving you this food product, you eat it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us teeth, and you chew on it, you're able to mush it to small amount, enough size that you can swallow it.
The tongue propels the food back to the back of the throat, where we have the epiglottis, which protects our trachea, the windpipe, from food accidentally going down the wrong way. As the food gets to the back of the throat, the epiglottis covers the trachea and enables the food to go down the esophagus, which is the food pipe. And the esophagus takes the food down to the stomach through the small intestine and the large intestine, where every part of the gastrointestinal tract, every part of our stomach, enables the food to be digested properly and to be absorbed properly so our body could properly use its nutrients.
The food pipe moves to the left, and the windpipe, which is not on this picture, moves to the right. That's why you may recall that the custom is to lean towards our left sides at the Seder in order to prevent food going down the wrong way into the lungs, and therefore putting the left side down, because the food will preferentially go down the food pipe.
You can actually see this is actually the entrance into the trachea, and this is the entrance into the esophagus.
It's fascinating to note that at this juncture between the food pipe and the esophagus, there is actually no proper door or gate. In fact, we don't really understand what it is that prevents contents in the stomach from backwashing into the food pipe, although we do know that when that happens, we get something called heartburn, which doesn't have anything to do with the heart, but because it burns near the heart, it's called heartburn. The food pipe is not just a pipe. It's a very complex organ in and of itself. It has coordinated muscle contractions, which is called peristalsis.
Peristalsis is a system in which the long tube from the esophagus, which is the long tube that leads to the stomach, which in turn leads to the small intestine and to the large intestine. Each part of the tube sequentially contracts. It gets tighter as the food passes and relaxes in front of the food to enable the food to continue a smooth passage down through the GI tract to enable us to absorb the appropriate nutrients and eventually eliminate the remaining waste from our body.
Most of us know from experience that one could, especially children, that one could hang upside down and food would still not come back up out of the stomach, and one could even swallow food upside down because the esophagus, the food pipe, has in it a mechanism to make food move forward into the stomach.
Then it goes into the small intestine. When it hits this portion of the small intestine, there's an attachment to the pancreas, which is this organ here, and the pancreas itself produces enzymes to break down specific compounds that are found in all types of foods. And it goes through these tiny little ducts and gets injected into the small intestine to start breaking it down. But it also produces insulin. So when you eat and your sugar level goes up, you can, God forbid, get extremely ill if your sugar goes very, very high. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a balance in our body. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu created such an unbelievable maintenance in the body that no matter what you eat, if you eat a slightly sugary food or you eat the most sweet of sweet foods, coming back to the Laffy Taffy, your body will produce more insulin to get the sugar and keep it at an even keel between 80 and 100 of the sugar level.
The stomach has a very high concentration of acid, hydrochloric acid, which is designed to digest meat. And even though you've chewed some of the meat in the mouth, for example, and the saliva has begun the process of some digestion, most of the meat, by the time it gets to the stomach, is still pretty chunky and requires further degradation in order to be absorbed further down in the intestine. So this acid, which sits in the stomach, is able to digest a piece of steak, and yet the acid doesn't harm the lining of the stomach itself. The stomach itself is protected by a mucous membrane, or rather mucus, which acts as a membrane, which prevents the acid in the stomach from actually touching the sides of the stomach directly. And in that way, the stomach is usually protected. This is the largest organ in the human body. It's called the liver. In fact, the liver in Hebrew is kaved, because kaved means heavy and weighty, and this in fact is the heaviest and the largest organ in the body.
The liver has 500 functions. Main functions are a toxin remover. You eat, somebody takes Tylenol and they take too much Tylenol. That's a toxin for the body. The liver,
like poison.
It's a poison. The liver it gets absorbed in the small intestine, goes into the bloodstream, goes right through the liver, and the liver identifies what a toxin is and what it isn't. It's the same thing with medication. Somebody takes a medication, somebody has a headache, they take a Tylenol, the Tylenol goes down into the stomach, into the small intestine, around this area of the small intestine, it gets absorbed, goes into the bloodstream, goes into the liver, and within 20 minutes of swallowing it, it's now in its active form, and the headache starts to go away. It's phenomenal. Liver is an amazing storage system for energy. So we eat, and a tinus comes. So you hear a tinus, you're not eating for, Yom Kippur comes, you're not eating for 24 hours. How do you function? You fill your car up with gas, it runs out of gas, it doesn't work, right? So our gas tank, which really maintains us, is the liver. And the liver will slowly releases the energy so that we can function normally. Probably only organ in the body that's a regenerative organ. That means if chas v'shalom somebody has a problem with the liver and they remove a piece of the liver, the rest of that space that was removed will now regrow and the person will have a normal-sized liver. You take out half of the liver of a healthy person and implant it into a ill person whose liver is not functioning. You remove their ill liver. You put this new liver in both of those people, the healthy person and the person who has the liver disease. That liver will now grow to a normal size and function normally. Most people know of the liver as having two lobes, the right lobe and the left lobe. Most people don't realize this is actually a very small lobe. Tiny lobe that's not even shown in this picture. It's only shown in the more advanced liver books. That just sits there. No one knows the purpose of it. We know the purpose of it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it for a reason. You have these children who, Rahman al-Islam, wouldn't survive. You have to find a transplant. It's very hard to find a transplant. They need it quickly. The parents can give up that tiny little lobe. It's less than 10% of the adult liver. And when somebody does a liver transplant or receives a liver transplant, it's based upon the body size. So if you have a little baby that's 1-2 days old, even a year old, the body is tiny. A parent can't give half their liver.
Right.
It's too large. It won't fit into the body. But you have this extra little lobe that no one knows the purpose of, but we do, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed it to us, that you take that little lobe and it fits into the little babies. And they live a normal life. When I wake up in the morning and I say Asher Yatzar, I just realize that I'm entering a world that's phenomenal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made such an unbelievable body. One of the reasons why I went into gastroenterology is for that reason. Asher Yatzar has always been a curious bracha to me. If you look at the Shulchan Aruch has a very long siman about Asher Yatzar. It doesn't really make sense because it's not halacha. And he goes and he describes the entire bracha word by word to describe all the organ systems. I never really understood why, and as time has progressed and I understood the human body more, I'm beginning to understand why the Mechaber went to the lengths that he went to. And the answer lies in understanding the human body.